Coming up on Phillies Nation, presented by BQ Basement Systems, Pat and Corey break down the Phillies' 5-game winning streak and overall solid road trip that still has them afloat in the NL East. The guys also break down Ryan Howard's hot streak and Jimmy Rollins' weird streak. Matt Stearns is along to give us hitting tips, Tommy Green gives us pitching tips, and I've got the Batters Inbox questions. That's all ahead on Phillies Nation.
What's going on? It is Phillies Nation, and we are brought to you by BQ Basement Systems, and we're here at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall in Center City, Philadelphia. He's Corey Seidman, I'm Pat Gallen. Not a bad road trip, huh?
And for once, the talk of selling has dimmed.
Yeah, a little bit, but we'll get into that a little bit later on because we are going to talk about it. But on that road trip, Atlanta and St. Louis, the Phillies at one point win 5 games in a row. Now they end the weekend with 2 straight losses, but for the most part, you see the 5 straight wins, which has not happened since last year. June 2nd through June 6th, they won 5 games. Then right after that, they lost 5 in a row. So we'll see what happens here. But it's a good sign, at least, that they got solid performances from guys like Ryan Howard and most of their starting pitching.
Yeah, when we talked last week, we mentioned that this could have been a season-ending road trip for the Phillies through Atlanta and St. Louis, 2 really tough places against teams that have been playing very well and were both NL contenders. The Phillies won the first 5 games of that road trip, and they outscored their opponents 30-10 in those 5 wins. Ryan Howard led them offensively, and most impressively to me, each member of the starting staff, 7 games in a row, the starting pitcher for the Phillies went at least 6 innings, and the bullpen pitched well with the lead, and even when behind, didn't give up the additional runs that put the game out of reach. It was a crisp road trip for the Phillies. It gives you hope moving forward, even if the Phils were 6 games under 500 at the end of the trip.
All right, so you mentioned the hope. Do you look at this maybe as some sort of turning point with this team? Because we've been there before where they've won 3 games and then they lose 3 games. This is a 5-game winning streak. Now, I know that they didn't end the weekend the way that they wanted to, but overall, it's pretty good. Could this be that turning point they need?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It was a turning point in terms of it was the first time this year that we've seen the Phillies over an extended period of time play all 3 phases well. However, to me, the turning point is not just the road trip, it's the 28-game sprint to the All-Star break. There are 21 games remaining for the Phillies after that road trip. 14 of those games come against divisional foes that the Phillies are chasing, the Marlins, the Braves, and the Nationals. 11 of those 14 games are at Citizens Bank Park. So if there's ever a time for the Phillies to establish a home field advantage, it's right now. Because if they put together a good record against their divisional opponents over this stretch, they'll be in good shape by the break.
Yeah, getting to 500 is absolutely important for this team. So we'll see what happens here. But as Corey said, a very important streak. Back to the starting pitching, though, that we mentioned. And one guy in particular that has been on and off and on and off is A.J. Burnett. Pitches a complete game on Friday. And there were some scouts from other teams there. I believe the Yankees had scouts there, the Orioles as well. Could he possibly be a trade chip? Because the problem with A.J. Burnett is he'll give you 5, 6 bad starts, and then he can throw you 3 outstanding starts, which you just saw on Friday.
Right. If you look at A.J. Burnett's last 3 starts, it's a polar opposite of the previous 6. 2.22 ERA over his last 3 starts. The number that jumps out most to me, over his last 3 starts, A.J. Burnett has thrown 12.5 pitches per inning. That's almost 6 pitches fewer per inning than he had thrown over his previous 6 starts. That's enabled him to go deeper into games. The strikeouts haven't been there, but he's putting the ball in play early in counts and using his defense. I think the teams that would be most interested in A.J. Burnett are the 3 teams he used to pitch for. The Marlins, the Yankees, and the Pirates. And the reason I say that is because the Marlins, by all accounts, are going to be buyers. And with Jose Fernandez out, they're going to need some starting pitching help. The Pirates, rotationally right now, are a disaster. You have Francisco Liriano on the DL, Garrett Cole on the DL, names that the Pirates are running out there, Jeff Locke, Charlie Morton, Brandon Compton, Edison Volquez. So they need starting pitching help, as do the Yankees. And A.J. Burnett, since he's on a 1-year deal, would be a little bit attractive because you're not going to have to give up a ton to get him.
All right, so with Burnett, he leads the league in walks through Monday. That's not a good sign, and the inconsistencies are part of his problem. So what exactly is A.J. Burnett? Can you expect him to give you 5, 6, 7, 8 good starts in a row? It just doesn't seem like he's that kind of guy, and a playoff team is going to want that.
The book on A.J. Burnett coming into this year is exactly the way it's played out. He's a guy who, if he makes 33 starts in a season, let's say A.J. Burnett, 18 to 20 of those starts are going to be dominant. They're going to be games where he makes the hitters look silly. His knuckle curve's working, his 2-seam fastball has tremendous movement. There's going to be a handful of starts where he can't go deep into a game because he throws so many pitches. And then there's going to be a handful of starts where he's terrible, where he can't throw a strike because his pitches are moving too much or he's flying too open.
And he's got the hernia thing going on too.
So I think that when you ask what is A.J. Burnett, he's the kind of guy who maybe 3 out of every 5 times he's going to be really good. He's going to give you one clunker in there and one okay outing. And you know what? If you're a team that needs a number 3 and number 4 starter, there are worse options than A.J. Burnett.
All right, some good stuff from A.J. Burnett over the weekend, and some pretty good stuff from a guy named Ryan Howard, who, you know, at times in his career, he'll put this team on his back with a good hot streak. He has done that over the past week, and he's on pace for 31 home runs and 109 RBI. And before the season began, we both said 25 homers, 85 RBI. If he gave you that, hell, you'd take it. So he's on pace to exceed that, but is it going to be enough for the team? So is this just one of those patented Ryan Howard hot streaks, or is it the kind of hot streak that he can put the team on his back, and here we go?
I think it is just one of the patented hot streaks. It's not going to last forever. He's going to go cold again pretty soon, as he always does. But, you know, at least it was encouraging in that it showed us that Ryan Howard still can carry a team. The first 4 games of that road trip, Ryan Howard had 3 home runs and 9 RBIs. The only longer streak of multi-RBI games he's had in his career was his MVP season.
Is that right?
So Ryan Howard at least showed that he can carry the team on his back, hit 345 on the road trip, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, and right now he's on pace for 31 and 109.
Yeah.
As you said, that far exceeds what we thought he would produce.
I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised. Not that I didn't think Ryan Howard could give you some power here and there, but you've got to be surprised by this as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I just didn't think that after the Achilles injury and the knee injury that Howard would be able to do this.
Yeah, well, we'll take it. How about Jimmy Rollins? Kind of interesting. You know that Jimmy Rollins back in 2005 and going into 06 had a 38-game hit streak. It was the 4th longest since Joe DiMaggio in 1941. But he also put together kind of a weird hitting streak recently. Which was it?
It was a 1-hit streak. Jimmy Rollins had exactly 1 hit in 15 straight games. And over the last 25 Major League seasons, there's only been 1 longer streak where a guy had at least exactly 1 hit in every game. And that was Alex Gonzalez for the 2005 Florida Marlins.
Oh, that's good company there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but what's interesting is, how often do you see a hit streak where a guy hits 15 games in a row and his batting average dips by like 8 points?
It's really weird, yeah.
But you know what Jimmy produced? He scored a run in a bunch of those games, and he was doing his duty atop the lineup.
All right, odd hitting streak from Jimmy Rollins, and now we get some hitting tips from the one and only Matt Stairs. We saw Natalie, who had a 3-part series with Matt Stairs, some great stuff there. Well, he's going to teach us all how to hit. Let's go to Matt Stairs.
Well, I think there's a few things that you can work on. One is your balance, and 2 is your setup. A lot of people get in there and their feet will be too close or too wide apart. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. And I've always taught that it's a shoulder width. That's what you want your feet. So what a lot of people will do is they'll just get in with a good balance. And for me, when I think about balance, is if someone pushes me on my chest, if I'm going to fall backwards. In order to have good balance, you think about putting all your weight inside by your toes, and your chest is out over home plate a little bit. What happens now is my knees are bent a little bit, my chest is out over home plate. Now I have a good balance where if someone pushes me on my chest, I'm not going to go back on my heels. So what happens with a lot of guys is when they're hitting flat footed and off the heels, their first move is this way and everything's going away from home plate. Now if I think about having the weight inside my feet, my knees are bent, my chest is out over the home plate. Now when I load and sit, everything's going this way towards home plate. My head stays back. You think about you're hitting off a pole. Everything you do is the contact first, then it's a rotation with the swing. So that's how I approach by watching young kids or watching major league ball players to break their swing down if they have good balance or not.
Our customers tell us it's important that they know who they're doing business with. Basement foundation issues are never fun, and finding a contractor that you can trust can be hard. That's why I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997. We're the experts in identifying and fixing problems in your basement, your crawl space, foundation repairs, and all things basementing. Have one of our certified inspectors out for your free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
Hey guys, it's Pat Gallen and Corey Seidman from Phillies Nation. We're here now at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall in Center City. You gotta stop by. The beer's cold, the food's great.
Biggest sports bar in the city, and there's plenty of parking.
Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall between 11th and 12th on Filbert Streets in Center City, Philadelphia.
We're very excited to implement a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness. At Summit Spine and Wellness, we combine chiropractic care, massage therapy, customized nutrition, personal training, and meditation. If you want to improve your health, take the 8 Week to Wellness Challenge like Dan, who lost 32 pounds, 6 inches off his waist, and 94 points off his cholesterol. We use a customized wellness score to measure your health and develop a diet and fitness plan just for you. Call our office at 215-487-2500 and ask about getting set up for your wellness score.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
This is Ian Riccaboni here at Coca-Cola Ballpark, and we're here today to talk to a man you may not have heard of, but you should know. His name, Tyler Henson. He's a utility player for the Iron Pigs who's tearing up the International League, and he may be coming to the Phillies soon.
Philly was the first team to offer me anything, and being a first-year free agent, me and my agent decided to take it and see what happens, and here I am back for a second year with them.
Henson was familiar with more than a few faces when he joined the Phillies organization in 2013. One of the first reunions the 26-year-old had was with Phillies Director of Minor League Development, Joe Jordan. Jordan drafted Henson in 2005 when he was with the Orioles.
It's always nice knowing somebody when you go to a new organization and all, but it all came down to the first team who offered me. That's where I was going to go.
Henson has crossed paths with a number of Phillies players and farmhands, some of whom he now calls teammates.
I came up with Baltimore, I played against Dominic Brown, Freddie Galvis, all them guys coming up, and became friends along the way, and it's nice now to be around them.
Preparation is key for Henson to remain on the Phillies' radar. The utility man has been a threat in the middle of the Iron Pigs lineup, with increasing power and speed numbers.
I spent a lot of time in the gym before 2013, and I knew I was going to come in. I was probably going to compete for a job at third base. Didn't know where I was going to play level-wise, and I knew that playing the corner spot, you're going to have to hit a few more home runs. So I packed on a few more pounds, and everything worked out.
Henson remains optimistic that his position versatility and style of play will afford him an opportunity to earn a spot with the Phillies.
And they will not get him.
Pretty much my whole career I've kind of been groomed to be a National League player, and coming up in the Orioles system, I bounced around in a few different positions just to so I can move around and move up levels and stuff like that. So pretty excited to be able to play all the different positions, because especially being with the National League team now, it gives me a little better chance of moving up.
Thank you, Ian. Some great stuff there, and some of the numbers on Tyler Henson so far this year. A .263 average, .718 OPS, 5 homers and 24 RBIs. He's not walking that much, and he's striking out a little bit. And sticking with Lehigh Valley, they recently just let go of, the Phillies organization did, Tyson Gillies, one of the more heralded prospects that the Phillies have had over the past couple of seasons. They let him go. They outrighted him off the 40-man roster a couple of weeks ago, just let him go completely, and his numbers didn't warrant a spot on that roster. .214, 3 stolen bases. Now here's a guy who's got 40 steal potential. He wasn't stealing any bases. 6 walks, 44 strikeouts so far this season. I guess they just had enough.
Yeah, enough was enough. For a long time, the Phillies put up with the injury issues that Tyson Gillies had, as well as the off-the-field issues. He was disciplined by the team a couple times because he had the upside. But Tyson Gillies, enough was enough. He had .214 this year. And that was a trade that the Phillies absolutely swung and missed on. The 2009 December Cliff Lee trade to Seattle. You look at that trade. J.C. Ramirez released. Tyson Gillies released. Philippe Aumont on shaky ground in this organization. Tyson Gillies, the year the Phillies traded for him, that year at High A, hit .341 with a .430 on base percentage, a ton of extra base hits, and he stole 44 bases. And then he impressed defensively in spring training the following spring. There were thoughts that he could be a Shane Victorino-like outfielder, a guy with Carlos Gomez-type skills, power, and speed. Never panned out because of the hamstring injuries and other things, and it's just a shame because the Phillies could absolutely use that outfield help right now.
And now it's time for By the Numbers. This week it is brought to you by our friends at BQ Basement Systems. Clayton Kershaw, he had a no-hitter, I'm sure you heard that, had 15 strikeouts. It's the 3rd most Ks in a no-hitter behind only Nolan Ryan, who did it twice, had more strikeouts in a no-hitter, 2 times more than Clayton Kershaw. You think he's going to throw a few more in his career, don't you?
I do. He's young enough and he's dominant enough to do it. That was one of the most impressive games I've ever seen pitched by anybody.
Also impressive, the power display put on by George Springer of the Houston Astros. 13 home runs through his first 254 plate appearances. Only 4 other players over the last 10 seasons have hit 13 home runs before their first 300. Jose Abreu from the White Sox has done it this year. Will Middlebrooks did it in 2012. How about the great Jeff Francoeur in 05, and David Wright did it in 2004.
Houston has some talent coming along. George Springer, Jonathan Singleton, Jose Altuve, Dexter Fowler, Jason Castro. That's a pretty good position player stock that Houston has.
And you've got some stuff on some Phillies players?
I do. Cole Hamels, 9 consecutive starts of at least 7 innings pitched. So I went back and I looked at the longest streaks in the National League over the last 5 years. Of the 9 longest streaks of 7+ innings over the last 5 years in the NL, 6 belong to Phillies. 2 from Cliff Lee, 2 from Roy Halladay, 2 from Cole Hamilton.
It's an epidemic.
The only other guys who have exceeded that number, Tim Hudson, Madison Bumgarner, Johnny Cueto. So, we've been spoiled with these dominant stretches by Philly starting pitchers.
All right, and you've got something on Marlon Byrd as well. A lot of strikeouts, but good power so far.
Yeah, Marlon Byrd, after the road trip, 33 extra base hits, which was more than guys like Yasiel Puig, Ryan Braun, Jason Worth, Jason Hayward, Justin Upton, outproducing those guys.
Yeah.
But 88 strikeouts, 4th most in baseball. And when you combine that with Ryan Howard, who has 96, that's 184 strikeouts from guys who bat back-to-back. It seems like Marlon Byrd's been swinging and missing at a lot of high fastballs.
It does.
We had that conversation.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So I went back and I looked at a lot of video and some heat maps from Marlon Byrd, and I found that this season, Marlon Byrd has swung and missed at a pitch high and outside the zone 38 times, 21 times with 2 strikes. That's a lot of times he's chasing a high fastball with 2 strikes to be punched out. And his extra base hits, only 1 of them has come on a pitch classified as high and outside the zone. Opposing teams are definitely looking at that scouting report and using it to their advantage coming in. If Byrd can stop swinging at those pitches, it shouldn't come at the expense of his power. So you might see the strikeouts decrease in the second half while the power remains the same.
Let's go to fantasy baseball. It is, of course, brought to you by DraftStreet.com, which is the future of fantasy sports with free one-day leagues where you can win cash prizes. Last week, you had a pitcher, I had a hitter. Who was your pitcher last week?
Tanner Roark went 5 innings, got a win.
Not that bad. I went with Derek Jeter. Didn't have a great week. He hit 182, a double, an RBI. But I do think if you stick with him, he's going to hit you 280 this year. Decent bench production. Whatever. I can't get any luck with these.
At least he stayed healthy.
He did stay healthy for the week. Who do you have this week?
This week I have Corey Dickerson, the Rockies' young outfielder, on a tear, hitting close to 350, a ton of extra base hits. He's become an everyday player out in Colorado, and anytime you can pick up an everyday player who plays half his games at Coors Field, you do it. Corey Dickerson owned in just 50% of Yahoo leagues. I expect that to be up to 75% over the next 10 days.
And I'm going to go with James Jones of the Seattle Mariners. Good steal numbers, 12 of them in 48 games so far this year, and he's only owned in 7% of leagues in Yahoo. 93% available. I'd pick him up if you need it in a category league.
And a fun fact, James Jones is the only name that appears actively in Major League Baseball, the NBA, and the NFL.
Interesting. Not hockey?
No, I don't think so. Not hockey.
Fantasy baseball brought to you by DraftStreet.com. It's the future of fantasy sports. Pat and Corey coming right back from the Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall.
Travel is not the exciting adventure it used to be. I still love the destination, yet getting there can be a hassle unless you travel like the pros. Major League Vacations offers exciting personal or group travel options to your team's away game or your favorite vacation destinations. MLV does all the legwork. You focus on the experience. For more than 20 years, MLV has been a trusted partner to thousands of people just like you. Visit MLV.com and make travel exciting again, or call 800-222-6256. Tell them Ricky Bo sent you.
Our customers tell us it's important that they know who they're doing business with. Basement foundation issues are never fun, and finding a contractor that you can trust can be hard. That's why I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997. We're the experts in identifying and fixing problems in your basement, your crawl space, foundation repairs, and all things basementing. Have one of our certified inspectors out for your free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
We're very excited to implement a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness. At Summit Spine and Wellness, we combine chiropractic care, massage therapy, customized nutrition, personal training, and meditation. If you want to improve your health, take the 8 Week to Wellness Challenge like Dan, who lost 32 pounds, 6 inches off his waist, and 94 points off his cholesterol. We use a customized wellness score to measure your health and develop a diet and fitness plan just for you. Call our office at 215-487-2500 and ask about getting set up for your wellness score.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation. It's time for our Batter's Inbox questions, where the guys debate your question and I'll pick the winner. Guys ready?
Ready as ever.
Ready to win.
We'll see about that. Let's go.
Right.
Our first question, which aspect of the Phillies has been most important to them underperforming this season? Corey?
Left field and center field, and it's been in multiple facets of the game. Phillies left fielders ranked 30th in all of baseball, dead last in OPS. Phillies center fielders ranked 26th. And then defensively, we've talked about how Ben Revere and Dominic Brown have been defensive liabilities. The Phillies have just 6 outfield assists all season. The league average is more than twice that, and the team with the most has 22. So that just shows how underproductive the Phillies have been in terms of outfield assists outside of Marlon Byrd. Ben Revere and Dominic Brown haven't been able to get it done in any way, and when we ask what might the Phillies buy if they are buyers at the deadline, you have to look at left field and center field. Those have been the two weakest areas.
I think clearly you've got to point to the bullpen, and especially in April. Check out some of these ugly numbers from the Phillies bullpen during that month. Antonio Bastardo was the best of this bunch at .466. Jake Diekman did not have a great April, had a couple of terrible outings. You remember Jeff Manship and his terrible April. Justin DeFreitas was sent down. He had a 7.20 ERA. How about B.J. Rosenberg? He's made his way back to the Phillies, but nearly an 8 ERA, and Brad Lincoln in 2 games had over an 11 ERA. He was supposed to be one of the later inning right-handed relief pitchers, and he couldn't get it done. And the way the bullpen pitched in April really sunk this team because they just threw away so many different games. I think it's clearly the bullpen.
The bullpen has been great over the last 5 weeks, so let's mention that.
But that April was bad. Yeah.
I like your argument, and I agree the bullpen has been bad in April, but they've surely turned it around.
Why is there going to be a butt here?
It's going to go to Corey on this one. They just haven't produced out there in center field and left field.
Where's the money at? Where's he paying you?
Our next question, if Cliff Lee is healthy and tradable before the deadline, which team fits him best? Pat?
I think it's absolutely the New York Yankees because they're not afraid to take on that salary, and they've got a few prospects that they can move around with. And Brian Cashman, you know that they want to go for it every single season, and one thing that's lacking has been their starting pitching. Masahiro Tanaka's been great, but wouldn't it be nice to get their hands on Cliff Lee? And they have one prospect in particular I think the Phillies would like to get their hands on, catching prospect Gary Sanchez, and he's the #1 prospect in their organization. Overall, though, the Yankees really not that great. 23rd, according to Baseball Prospectus, as far as their organizational rankings are concerned. So I think that the Yankees are always going to be in the running, and when it comes to Cliff Lee, why wouldn't they be? Because they can take on that salary, and with the prospects they have, again, not great, but I think that there would be enough to be a match.
Yeah, the 3 teams that I look at that would be great fits for Cliff Lee, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Los Angeles Angels. 3 teams that are in it this year, playoff contention, and have some money. Now, the Yankees, I think that is the best fit for Cliff Lee. They've wanted him for 5 years. And you talked about how the Yankees are 23rd in terms of prospect rankings. Well, the trade would have to begin with Gary Sanchez, the top prospect in the Yankee system. And for me, it has to begin with Dellin Betances, the lights-out reliever for the Yankees this year. And the reason is that if you look at Tyson Gillies' release last week, we talked about this a little earlier in the show, that perfectly symbolizes why you need to get major league ready talent when you're dealing a star like Cliff Lee. The Phillies didn't get it last time. They went for upside. You need to get a guy who's established, and that's what Dellin Betances is. And you know, some people might say that's a lot, but you're going to get 2.5 years for Cliff Lee. So you need major league ready talent, whether it's Marcus Stroman of the Blue Jays, CJ Cron of the Angels, or Dellin Betances of the Yankees.
Well, since you both picked the Yankees and both made good arguments, both get a point on that one.
We each get a point? All right, I guess I have to take that.
Our last question. With Tyson Gillies released on Sunday, over the past few years, which highly touted prospect has been the most disappointing for the Phillies? Pat?
I think it's Sebastian Valle because he was supposed to be the heir apparent to the catching throne and Carlos Ruiz, and that's kind of why they had to go 3 years and over $25 million with Carlos Ruiz, because a guy like Sebastian Valle, who was supposed to be here by now, is not. .278 on-base percentage, I think, is all you need to know about him. He hasn't worked out.
I'm not going with one guy, I'm going with a group of 5. Remember the baby aces that used to be down in single A for the Phillies? Well, Trevor Mays in Minnesota, Jared Kozart's in Houston, Jonathan Pettibone needs shoulder surgery, Brody Colvin was released last week, and Julio Rodriguez was sent to Baltimore for pretty much nothing. That was supposed to be the next wave of Philly starting pitchers. None of them have panned out for the Phillies.
Gonna go with Pat on this one. Sorry,
I think she
Corey.
felt bad for me.
So that's 1-1-1 this week then, so I still maintain the lead.
Well, that wraps up our Batters Inbox questions for this week. We want to hear what you have to say, so leave them for us on our Facebook and Twitter page. Don't touch that remote. We'll be right back with more Phillies news.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Hey guys, it's Pat Gallen and Corey Seidman from Phillies Nation. We're here now at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall in Center City. You gotta stop by. The beer's cold, the food's great.
Biggest sports bar in the city, and there's plenty of parking.
Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall between 11th and 12th on Filbert Streets in Center City, Philadelphia.
At Village Catering, we're committed to making your event one to remember. We are family owned and operated, and for more than 30 years, we've made our mark on Philadelphia as a go-to caterer for all of your special events. We're also the official caterer of the Flyers and Soul and the preferred caterer of Temple Athletics. We will work with you at customizing your off-site event, or you can have your event at our on-site facility, the Cottage Green, so that you'll feel like a guest at your own party. Contact us at 215-698-1117 or villagecatering.com, and we'll help you make a memory today.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green. This week we're talking about no-hitters. I get a question asked to me all the time because I threw one back in 1991 against the Expos. Is what was going through my mind during that game. I treated it start just like any other start, even later in the game. I mean, I wanted to win the ball game. It was a 1-0 ball game to the ninth. It was all about winning the game to me. But do you notice people leaving you alone, so to speak? Not that they leave a pitcher alone pretty much anyway to do his own routine during any start. I noticed I had a little bit more space around me. They were giving me a big on the bench because I didn't go back in the tunnel, sit in the clubhouse or whatever. That was the closest thing I realized. You know, they realized I got a possible no-hitter going, and it was a fun time. It was really a fun time. It was probably, looking back on it and see some of the video on it, they were probably more nervous than I was. I had a good time that day, and it brought back a lot of memories talking about them with different people. I mean, I get a little emotional now because it changed my life, and that was a very proud moment in my career. That's brought a lot of happiness to my life. I get a lot of questions asked to me about that, and I'm real proud of that day.
Thank you, Tommy. Some great stuff on the mound there. Some interesting stuff over the weekend with the San Diego Padres. They fired their general manager, Josh Burns. They now have 3 GMs that have taken over. Omar Minaya is one. A.J. Hinch is another, and we know him here in Philadelphia because he was with the organization in 2004 and in 2005. So it got me thinking, would you want to see something like that here in Philadelphia? 3 general managers taking over and making all the decisions?
Well, it's a unique situation because the Padres already had in that front office 2 guys who used to be Major League GMs in Omar Minaya and in A.J. Hinch. I don't think it's going to be, maybe it becomes a trend, I don't think so, but it did get me also thinking that, we've heard a lot about the possibility that the Phillies let Ruben Amaro go in the middle of the season, a lot of talk about that. And I don't think it's going to happen. And one of the reasons I don't think it's going to happen is because you don't have 2 former GMs within the system that will be ready to just step in and make all the moves. Plus, the Phillies are expected to make a lot more important moves over the next couple months than the San Diego Padres.
All right, let's go to our Twitter trivia, and it's brought to you this week by Shibe Vintage Sports. Check out the Phillies gear at shibesports.com. 20% off, not bad. Last week's question had to do with Jimmy Rollins and shortstops. Since 2004, J-Roll, second among all shortstops with 174 home runs, and he had to play at least 80% of your games at shortstop. Do you know who number 1 is?
Who?
Hanley Ramirez, 189 home runs. This week's question is this, and it relates to Cole Hamels. Who is the last qualifying Phillies pitcher to have an ERA under 3 and fewer than 10 wins in a season?
I'll tell you what, Hamels is on pace for like 8 wins this season, and it's not Cliff Lee. Some people might guess Cliff Lee, but a couple years ago he did have just 6 wins, but his ERA was above 3.
It is not Cliff Lee. Well, that's it for us here on Phillies Nation. Let's do some thank yous, of course, to BQ Basement Systems and our friends here at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall. Come watch the World Cup here. It's a great spot for it. Our friends behind the camera, 2020, and Brian Michael as well. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Matt Stairs, the whole gang. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time right here on Phillies Nation.